if a man is trying to emulate a woman, or for a woman trying to emulate a man. The Prophet made it clear not to follow populations of countries that approves deviant practices. He said, he who emulates the citizens of a nation becomes one of them. We live in this society, we're part of this society, we have to pay attention to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished for us to do. In Surah Al-Isra, verse 16, إِذَا أَرَدْنَا أَن نُهْلِكَ قَرْيَةً أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَ فِيهَا فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا فَحَقَّ عَلَيْهَا الْقَوْلُ فَدَمَّرْنَاهَا تَدْمِيرًا. Whenever we intend to destroy a village society for its ignorance, we command its elite to obey Allah, but they do what can be the form of moral bankruptcy, as we see creeping into this country and to many Western societies, and it's finding its way to our countries as well in the Middle East. Fortunately for us in this country, we can still follow our religion and our beliefs without government interference, at least for now and hopefully in the future. The most important, most serious attention we have to pay attention to is to our children. It is very important that we raise our children understanding our religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promise is listed in Surah Hud alayhi salam. مَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ لِيُهْلِكَ الْقُرَى بِظُلْمٍ وَأَهْلُهَا مُصْلِحُونَ. God is not going to destroy, as your Lord, O Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran translate, would never destroy a society unjustly while its people were acting righteously. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to destroy a country, its moral values, whatever, but we saw it in this society. The Mutrifun started on television probably from the 1980s and 1990. Every show you see on television, you see what gay out there, you see someone basically doing things that are absolutely forbidding for anyone to do, and even Christians and Jews in this country who are adhering to their religion rejects it. But it seems the media publicize it, and when the media publicize it, it becomes part of the normal society. How can we prepare our children to succeed in this life? By following the commands of our Creator, inshaAllah, and that can only be achieved through bringing them up in a home full of love of Allah and appreciation and practices of the religion of Islam. Obviously, we cannot in this country to stop the onslaught or moral indecency in this country. For history tells us otherwise. Current history tells us some have hired gay and lesbian clergies into their congregations, and in fact, we can see it happening. We have to stick to our faith for us to achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Creator. Let us look at how the Prophet dealt with how prophets of Allah dealt with their children at difficult times, and how they prepared them to follow Allah's command. While there were gentleness in Ibrahim alayhi salam with his son and Luqman's voice, there were also clear warning and actions. Brothers and sisters, Allah entrusted us with beautiful children to raise, to teach, and to guide to him and his staff. Luqman said to his son, while advising him, "O my dear son, never associate anything with Allah in worship, for associating others with Him is truly the worst of all wrong." The surah went in to outline additional advices of Luqman to his son, and warning him for his, including offering respect to his parents, his prayer, not to be arrogant, and even to soften his voice in communication. While there are all gentleness in Ibrahim and Luqman voices, were also clear warning and practice and cautious. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam is a good example. His son is disobedient to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the commands of his father, when he said, Ya bunayya irkab ma'ana. He said, come ride with us in the boat. He said, no, I'll find a mountain, I'll be safe. And what happened to him? He drowned. So let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when Luqman was, he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is my son, this is my family. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he told him? إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. He is your son, but عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. He did a poor job or not a very good job, basically. So we have responsibility. So let's ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help and guide us in our effort to prepare the next Muslim generation in this country. أسأل الله العظيم أن يغفر Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen. Brothers and sisters, Allah entrusted us with beautiful children to raise, to teach and to guide to Allah's straight path, to achieve our goal of raising a good child who inshallah will be successful in this life and the hereafter, a child that will keep the religion of Islam in this country growing and to teach the future generations, and that is going to require some education, and it requires from us to do a good job. A Chinese saying that it takes a village to raise a child is not impossible or old-fashioned, but the village has to be following the commands of Allah and not the likes of Prophet Lot's village. Alhamdulillah, we're blessed with a good village or good community in this town, and inshallah in many other towns as well. Many of us who have been successful raising children had the same challenges and the same worries about their children like any young family in our community today. So I see young kids, alhamdulillah, in the masjid on Sundays coming to school. And I see many volunteers, teachers dedicating their free time to prepare them. But that, in my judgment, can improve and can be better. We need to pay attention to our children. And we need to pay attention to them from the very young age. We don't wait until the child is 13, 14 years old. By that time, it has been ingrained in his mind. If he is sitting in front of the TV 24 hours a day as a form of babysitting, that's not going to be the way to do it. You also have to have a family that both the father and mother are dedicated to the child from the very young age. When they're a few months and even a few weeks young, they see their father, they see their mother praying together, and when the child does something wrong, they teach, be open with the children. Ask those that have raised children in this society, and the children came out to be good. And we have, alhamdulillah, many examples in this community that you can learn from. But don't let your child grow because you're praying and you say, I am praying, everything I'm doing is absolutely great, I have the kids stand with me in prayer. But then when you look at the child spend most of the day in school, so don't just assume just because you pray and you're seeing you're good, that your child's going to be good. It's an educational process that starts from a very young age and continues throughout their lives. And alhamdulillah, it can happen, but it has to have a commitment from day one, because I know of families that are actually know them really well, where their children deviated from the path and they have gone astray. Too late by that time. It's impossible to do it with any creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't matter if it's a tree or it's an animal. If you don't start with them when you're engaged, they're never going to be good citizens. Putting a child in front of the TV or having been influenced what goes on in the school is not the way to do it. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us into raising children that are going to abide by His rules and laws. And the only way we can do it is for us to be committed to raising that child in the right way. Otherwise, there will be a regret, and I'm sure nobody wants to see their children or themselves to be the last Muslims in this country, to see that their children continue to raise the banner of Islam. Where in this country, it will be a shining star, and inshallah, that would happen very soon. This is one straight again. This is my own thoughts in the process. It doesn't represent, nobody told me to talk what I just said. It's all mine. The Imam was supposed to give khutbah today, but he got sick and he couldn't even talk, so he asked me to give this khutbah because, like I said, it's my own words, and the society of CIMIC didn't tell me, and the Imam didn't ask me for his subject. It's my thoughts in the process. نسأل الله العظيم أن يغفر لي ولكم فيفوز المستغفرين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
رحمكم الله.
الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير. وإن جاهداك على أن تشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما وصاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا واتبع سبيل من أناب إلي ثم إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا بني إنها إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأت بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور. ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير. ألم تروا أن الله سخر لكم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وأسبغ عليكم نعمه ظاهرة وباطنة ومن الناس من يجادل في الله بغير علم ولا هدى ولا كتاب الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Today's Friday announcements. The khatib today was Brother Musbah Fashad. May Allah bless him for this reminder. Please donate to the masjid by many ways. We have a kiosk on the wall, and we have bins, and you can also donate at the Venmo account at CIMIC. The CIMIC General Body meeting last Sunday, we should like to thank those who attended the meeting. Hopefully we get more people to attend the meeting so the board can hear from the members of our blessed community about their ideas, concerns, or any issues. The Friday prayer mass are required. Please bring your own mass and save money. Today's talk is canceled. MSA has dua table on the main quad on campus. This will take place every 3 weeks. Anyone interested in helping giving dawah, please contact the masjid, or if you'd like to volunteer, please contact the masjid. Dr. Mutir Rahman passed away last Saturday. May Allah have mercy on him. In Minnesota, he wished to be buried in the CIMIC masjid, in the CIMIC plot we have at our cemetery. He served on the CIMIC board and other CIMIC committees. Please make dua for him and his family. May Allah accept his efforts. Islamic school will resume January 22nd, inshallah, 2023. Lunch will be provided today by Sharma Joint. Please make dua for the lunch providers, $7 donation. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We don't already made it. You should do it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so we're going to start the second khutbah. Anybody outside who wants to sit down and listen to the khutbah, please come inside. One of you could be please outside, just tell them to be quiet or close the door. Jazakallah. So we don't need that. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلاة ربي وسلامه عليه. Verily all praises are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek Him, we seek His help, and we praise Him, and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from our own bad deeds and ourselves and from the bad deeds of others. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can misguide him. Whosoever Allah that go astray, none can guide him except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dear brothers and sisters, we live in a world today that is quite different from what it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, or even 50 years ago. Technological advances, particularly in the internet and in technology in general, has narrowed the world to where now we know about everything and everyone, about everyone and everything, good or bad, within seconds. That is great. But it also brought about a hunger for rapid change. And that change is the topic of my khutbah, inshallah. And the topic that I select today, and the content and its content, is for my own. Nobody told me to talk about this subject. The Imam was supposed to be here today, but he got ill last night. He called me, or he texted me and said he's ill, he can't talk, his voice is gone. So I asked I will volunteer for this, but he didn't give me a topic. Neither does the CIMIC organization give me this topic to talk about or its content. So it's my own saying. I came to this country in 1975, almost half a century ago. When I compared the norm of the American society today to what it was back then in 1975, I find a mixed bag of good and bad things that have happened especially during this last few years. One of the good things is the rapid increase in the Muslim community and the Muslims and the rise of the number of masjids everywhere in this country. Muslims are stronger today than back then. We have representatives in the federal, state, and local governments. Every sector, local governments. Muslims' businesses are thriving, and Muslims are found in nearly every sector of the country, alhamdulillah, which is great. Unfortunately, there have also been huge changes in the country during these past few years that are not for the better, and they are in direct contradiction to our own religious belief of Islam. Basically, the moral norms of this society is being degraded. What used to be taboo yesterday, it is becoming fashionable and good today. It is estimated that death from opioid drugs that are in heavy use in this country, just the death from the opioids in 2020 reached 68,630. A few years ago, and that's just for opioids, there are other drugs that are also being used and cause the death is much, much higher. A few years ago, if someone was caught with an ounce of cannabis or marijuana, they get arrested, and some of them will even be in jail. Today, it's sold by the government. Isn't that ironic? The erosion of the family structure is another thing that's really happening in the society. Today, males and females forming a partnership they call cohabitation, without a marriage contract, without any commitment to one another. The number of cohabitation, which is kind of interesting choice of word, has risen by nearly 230% among 18-year-old adults in this country. In fact, 69% of Americans consider this form of family structure acceptable. You have a man and a woman decide to live together without a contract. They have children. I know more than one. In fact, I know a mother that's living with another guy, and her daughter living with another guy, with another guy, and they have children. And these children, like I said, what do you want to call these kids, and what happened with the contract? Or one of them decided to just take off. Well, what is the psychological impact? Because there's no commitment. You don't have to go to court. You don't have to do anything. You just kind of like goodbye. Okay, nice meeting you. It is disturbing that the line between right and wrong is eroded in this society. Where in many Western societies, they are becoming the norm and not the exception. A good example is in France, where it is illegal for a Muslim woman to wear hijab. But it's perfectly fine for a non-Muslim woman to walk naked on the beach, and there is no penalty in it. Isn't that ironic? Decency has no values anymore, but indecency becomes the norm. The recent explosion of publicity surrounding the gays and lesbians and transgressors, whatever it is really another example. I'll just talk a little bit about that. It is a form of degradation in the society that's really spreading. My neighbor flies the LGBT flag, and he's damning anyone that criticize or reject that flag every morning. Doesn't matter, rain, shine, snow, whatever it is, he's out there putting that flag in there to tell everybody that this society stands for justice. What kind of justice? Is there such a thing as justice of immorality? If maybe there is. Ironically, the Supreme Court's decision, which legalized same-sex marriage, and the media that endorses this practice as normal, and label anyone that rejects them as equivalent to being a racist. I don't watch TV much, but last Tuesday, and that's what triggered me to really think deeply about this subject, and really kind of look at my religious beliefs and how it fits with what's going on in society. I turned the TV on. It happened to be really fortunate. They asked me questions. Some of them really kind of useless, but some of them educational. So I decided to turn the TV, and it was on that show. And it's been, honestly, a long time since I've watched TV. Not much. Probably less than 5 seconds a day or 5 minutes a day. Well, the host, I don't know if you remember something, anyway, it's not necessary to tell his name, asked the two contestants to introduce themselves. One was a lady. She has 2 kids. She was happy with her 2 kids. She works in such a job, but she didn't mention anything about her husband, which is important. I mean, not important. Maybe she's divorced. But what kind of got me is a male, the second contestant, described the joy he has when him and his husband, now he's a male, him and his husband adopted a child, girl, and that was the joy of his life. Now, it kind of struck me, him and his husband adopted the girl, and he's so happy about that. I think of that little girl when she grows up. What is she going to be when she gets older, what kind of moral values she will have, and also tell myself, I am truly happy and thankful to God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make me live at this time. I don't know what's going to happen 20 years from now. Okay? With the value of the family completely disappears, what happened? Okay? What is highly disturbing is that many university professors, teachers, administrators, and even clergies in several states have been fired for reprimanding or refusing to accept or use gay preferred pronouns and names. When a transgender transfer from female transfer, now she becomes a male. She goes to the doctor, she takes hormones, now she's a man. She doesn't want to be called a female. She wants to be called he. When she was born, she. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when she came out of her womb. If this is a normal, it's genetically acceptable, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wouldn't He take her out and bring her back to this world as a male instead of female? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us from a female and a male to ta'arafu, to one another. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create us all one sex. He could have done it. If God can put Jesus in Mary's womb, He can create us all to be males, or create us all to be females. But God created us for a purpose, to be a male and female. Okay? We wanted to build a society. We wanted to build love. We wanted to build appreciation of who we are and our differences. Not to make us out of a cookie cutter or the old transgress in one sex. Okay? A lady in North Carolina. These two guys came to her and said, we want to get married, but we want you to decorate a cake for us. Okay? With two males out there holding hands or kissing. So I guess it's really kind of, as a person who understands, who just in my heart see it as immoral, it's becoming immoral. Well, most of this, like, okay, well, this happened in the West. Why am I talking about it on a Friday prayer where Muslims are never going to happen to society? I want to take a step back and just share, let me say a few things. Well, most of these hideous practices start in the West. I mentioned about what happens in France. I regret to say that they are also creeping into some of our societies, in Muslim society, not just in gays, but in many other practices. Gay is known for many years. We know that it's even mentioned in the Quran, and I will mention that later. But I regret, like I said, to say that many practices, many things that are happening in this society in the West are finding their ways in. A friend sent me a short YouTube video of a female from a country, a Muslim country, happened to be Tunisia, which I love very much. I traveled there many times and have a lot of friends in there. Very nice people, very religious people, but they have a government that doesn't really care. It's more of an Islamic, just like a westernized government, where this female on YouTube wants to marry two men. Okay, two men. Not one, two. Okay, she was on YouTube. They're going to have the wedding very soon, and she was happy asking people to come to her wedding. The government didn't do anything about it. Why the government didn't do about it? In 1982, not the same government, but the Tunisian legislators in 1982 passed a law in Tunis that says that a man and a woman, a boy and a girl of a parent that had been deceased, they have the same equal inheritance. The word وَلِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنثَيَيْنِ that's been written in the Quran, that the male gets twice as much as a female. They said that's in the Quran, but has nothing to do with the legislation of this country or the rules. So they put that aside when it is forbidden. But it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed for a reason. It's not just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it doesn't have that equality between the male and female. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very just. The reason it is just to do it this way, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the money to the female, say it is yours, go out and use it for whatever you want to do. On your kids, spend it on your clothes, do whatever you want to do with it. But the son is obligated to take care of his parents. In fact, obligated to take care of his sister if she got divorced and she had no need. She has no means to survive. He is obligated to take care of her. So the son, the prophet, when an elderly man came to the prophet and said, my son is not helping me, He took his son by his garment, pulled him in, and said, you and your money and your possession belong to your dad. And that's why it's not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unjust. Okay? So this is what's going on. We see it happening in just more than just, and even in celebrations. You know, there are videos out there in Muslim countries where they're celebrating Halloween, even though the government and the people don't like it, but it happens. We have young people that are vulnerable to other influences. One can blame the internet, but there is also pressure from some Western countries to bring us out from our dark days of following Islam to the Western world's ideology of how human beings should live. Let's look at what's going on. This is in what happened with the U.S. The U.S. and the West want to spread these practices. A good example is the pressure from the United States and European countries on Kenya. Obama, in 2012, visited Kenya, and he went out there not to help the poor, and not to help the needy, not to deal with the Ebola that's spreading among the people. He was pressuring and encouraging the Kenyan people to allow homosexuality, not to pass laws that prevents homosexuality, because to Obama and to the United States, we are an open society. We welcome anybody who wants to do anything, okay? Unless they're obviously Muslims. But anyway, he went out there and he preached to them about, they said, we have more, I think the foreign more, so one of the people from Kenya said, we have more problems than we have to deal with in gay issues. We have people that are hungry. We have diseases. We have a lot of issues that we need. This is a no subject to discuss with us. If you wanted to live and do whatever in the United States, keep it. They don't want it. The same thing they did with Uganda, and the European Union and the United States forced the Ugandan government to change the law that they implemented to forbid homosexuality. So there's a pressure out there, and inshallah, we have, as Muslims living in this society, we have to be aware that there are influences that deviate from our beliefs, and the Quran is very clear in rejecting deviant practice, homosexuality, paganism, drugs, use, and other unlawful practices very much clearly. قل إنما حرم ربي الفواحش ما ظهر منها وما بطن والإثم والبغي بغير الحق وأن تشركوا بالله ما لم ينزل به سلطانا وأن تقولوا على الله ما لا تعلمون. The Quran is very, very clear in its message. Say, O Lord has forbidden open and secret indecencies, sinfulness, unjust aggression, associating others with Allah in worship, a practice He has never authorized, and not to attribute anything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what you do not know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemned that and rejects it. In Surah Al-A'raf and Surah Al-Naml, Allah described the people of Lot who practiced homosexuality as either being ignorant or have knowledge of the rules of Allah, but they reject to follow it. He described them as musrifun, okay? Musrifun or the Jahilun. Allah destroyed the village of Lot for their act. So it is a practice happened from ancient times, but the Quran is very clear. The Prophet rejected and cursed anyone, a male or a female. If a male dresses, talks, walks like a female, he said that's not acceptable in Islam, and the Prophet rejects it. Male likes to try to be like a female tries to be like a male. It's absolutely abhorrible, indecent, rejected by the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? The Prophet made it clear not to follow any population or country that approves deviant practices. He said, he who emulate or participate the citizens, or do whatever the citizens of a nation, becomes one of them. So if we allow that to happen to us, we are becoming one of the deviants that's going on in the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Isra, إِذَا أَرَدْنَا أَن نُهْلِكَ قَرْيَةً أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَ فِيهَا فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا فَحَقَّ عَلَيْهَا الْقَوْلُ فَدَمَّرْنَاهَا تَدْمِيرًا. Whenever we intend to destroy a village or society for their indecency, we command its elite to obey Allah but they do not act accordingly and become rebellious. So the decree of punishment is justified, and we destroyed it utterly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the justification, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the destruction, brothers and sisters, doesn't have to be waiting until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send a hurricane to people that are deviant, or send rain or whatever it is. No, it could be, the destruction can happen in other form, in non-materialistic objects. But it can be in the form of moral bankruptcy, as we see creeping in this society. Unfortunately, many others, Christians and Jews and other people of faith, rejects what's going on, but they have no means to fight it. Okay? They have no means to deal with it because it's in the media and spreading out like fire and becomes norm of the society. Fortunately for us in this country, we can still follow our belief without government interference, at least for now and hopefully in the future. The most important and most serious attention we have to pay attention to is toward our children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, in Surah Hud alayhi salam, ما كان ربك ليهلك القرى بظلم وأهلها مصلحون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and your Lord, O Prophet, would never destroy a society unjustly while its people were acting righteously. So we have to be righteous. We have a community here, a Muslim community. How can we prepare for what's going on? How can we prepare our children to succeed in this life? By following the commands of our Creator, inshallah. And so we can build a society that's just, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He is not going to destroy anybody that's following the right path. So let's find a way that we can we can bring our kids to the right path. Obviously, we cannot totally isolate our children from the society. We cannot isolate them, but we can certainly insulate them. Not isolate them, insulate them. How can we insulate them? Is by teaching them about the Quran, teaching about our religion, and have them brought up in a way that will prepare them. We cannot depend on other more powerful religions in this country or denominations within them to stop the onslaught on the moral decency in this country. For history tells us otherwise. Current history tells us that some have hired gay and lesbian clergies into leading their congregation prayers because they caved in, because they wanted to be accepted in a society that is losing its moral decencies. We have to stick to our faith for us to achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Creator. Let us look at how the Prophet dealt with their children, how the prophets of Allah dealt with their children at difficult times, and how they prepared them to follow Allah's command. While there were gentleness in Ibrahim's dealing with his son and Luqman's voice, there were also clear warnings and actions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to others that are not doing so. Brothers and sisters, Allah entrusted us with beautiful children to raise, to teach, and to guide to His path. These children did not come with, yes, they were born Muslims. They believe in their heart when they're born that someday they're going to be brought up as righteous, but it's up to us to lead them into that path. Luqman said to his son, while advising him, "O my dear son, never associate anything with Allah in worship, or associating others with Him is truly the worst of all wrongs." The surah went on to outline additional advices from Luqman to his son, warning his son, including offering respect to his mother and his parents, his prayer, not to be arrogant, and even to soften his voice in communication. Well, there were gentleness in Ibrahim and Luqman's son and their voices. There were also clear warning. Let's look at Prophet Noah alayhi salam. When his son was out there and he built the ark and he had it all ready to save the good people from drowning, his son said, "Well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait until I will go out to a mountain and I will protect myself from being swept in the water." And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Luqman told him, today nobody's going to be saved except the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those who accept the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if not for Nuh alayhi salam, there's nothing he could do about his son. He did everything, he brought him up right, he did everything. When he approached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he told Allah, this is my son, this is of my family, this is my beloved son. He said, إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. It's a bad job. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. It is a bad job. Let him go. Okay? You do the best you can, like Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Luqman, but sometimes you fail. But if you did your job and raised your kid, you gain the benefit of raising that kid, because someday he's going to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say, please God, accept my parents in heaven. But if you raise a child that's going to be deviant, what is he going to do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those hasanat that you get from raising your child right, is not going to be there. Okay, in fact, could be that, we're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our deeds that we have done, but the influence we have on our children and the way we're bringing them up is going to be a plus on our side. It can also be a negative on our side. So we have to do the best we can. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help and guidance in our effort to prepare the next Muslim generations in this country. But it is the hidayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know that. We know that the hidayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the hidayah to help our kids. Ameen. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyil kareem. Brothers and sisters, like I said, the hidayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the effort to raise our kids is very important. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I said, entrusted us with these children, little children, and we have to raise them from day one. One of the most important things that I would like to leave with you as a father, some raised, alhamdulillah, children that are what I would consider, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help me do it. I take very little credit for it. They both, alhamdulillah, following their religion, and I'm happy with their upbringing. There are many members in this community that have done the same thing, raised good kids, did the best they could, and you can gain advice from them if you are a young family that's starting. So achieve our goal, brothers and sisters, we have to find a way that we can teach our children. And to achieve that, for raising our children, inshallah, we will be successful in this life and the hereafter. A child that will keep the religion of Islam growing have to be educated about the religion from a very young age. In the West, the most poor decision or from parents, there are some parents that believe, because I am praying. I pray at home every time, and I do everything I can, and inshallah, if God wants to give them the hidayah, God will give them the hidayah. Yes, God gave the hidayah. Gave the hidayah to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. But he couldn't approach the kids because most likely that kid just basically wait for him to do it on his own. That kid's not going to do it on his own. You have to start with them from a very young age, weeks, months, whatever it is, but from very young age. Once the kid reaches 13, 14, 15, they do whatever they want. Because the influence of this society is there. You let them watch TV without supervision. You can't go in front of the TV because you feel the TV is an excellent babysitting and they're watching Bugs Bunny. Well, there is more than Bugs Bunny on TV, and you have to be careful. So to achieve our goal of raising a child, inshallah, we have to deal with them when they're very young. The mother and father have to be on the same wavelength. You can't have the mother say, well, I want to do this because I want to go shopping so they can watch TV and watch whatever they want. In fact, I remember one time I went back home to Libya and had a little iPad, and I put it next to me, and my nephew was about 5 years old, and he turned the iPad on, and within seconds, before I knew it, he was watching new pictures on television. Where did you get this? The media is geared toward corruption. The TV program that you have on today, and this started in the 80s with this gays, almost every program has someone out there that's a gay. So it is ingrained in the society that this is becoming normal. Okay? How can we, as a child today that rejects indecency, immorality, whether it's drugs, whether it's homosexuality, and have them live according to our faith, is very important that we start at a young age. And we have to be uniform. What's taboo today or haram today is haram tomorrow. There's no middle ground. The middle ground is they be on this side or that side. They have influence from their peers. They spend more time in school. When they are in school or they went out to visit a friend that's not Muslim or the friend of a Muslim family that you feel like they're not doing the right thing, are you following them? One time I said, my kid said he wants their graduation and one of his friends invited to their home. I told him, I said, Omar, when you go there, please call me if there's any alcohol served. And wallahi, he called me within like 5 minutes. He said, Dad, the father of the family is giving beer to the kids. Can you come take me home? And that's what you want to do. You want to follow your kids. When your kids come back at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're asleep in your bed, what do you expect that kid to be? Do you know if he comes in sober or drunk? And we have tragedy that happens in this society. Okay? So we can say that if you raise a child, it's your responsibility from the day you're born until you die. And when you die, your job is not even over because they're still carrying the load that you have taught them as children. So it is very important for us to raise a family is to watch out what they do with love and respect. Share with them. Be open with them. Don't think that the kids are going to be learning how to practice their religion from what they come to the masjid here. You have to do it there. I was teaching in the school upstairs when the masjid was very small, and we were talking about it is haram for us to drink beer. The kids, well, my dad drinks beer. What can you say to that? What can you say to that word? You open your mouth and you say, Dear God, please provide some guidance for this child because he is growing in a home that is not suitable to raise a family. So it's very important for us brothers. And like I said, there's a Chinese proverb or a statement that says it takes a village to raise a child. And that village has to be a good village. A rotten village is going to raise a rotten child or a rotten apple, whatever it is. And we have a good village. We have a good community here. We have examples of parents that raise good kids. And we have a message that we can bring the kids to. And we bring them to prayers. And we tell them to be good Muslims, be practicing, following, reading with them. Teach them the basics of Islam. Explain to them. Even, you cannot hide anything from a child. The child either hear from you or hear from someone else. You tell them the truth and you tell them the right thing, or they hear from someone else, they tell them a completely different story. So it is your responsibility as a mother and as a father to both of there's no shyness, okay? There's no shyness in telling your kids about homosexuality and all these indecent practices to say, well, I'm not going to tell my kids. I'm sorry, my dad was not educated, okay? And he passed away, may Allah accept him in heaven, and I know he has a good heart. But he never discussed with me the fact of life, about sex, about bringing up, because it was a taboo in the society. Okay, it's not taboo in this society. You can talk to your kids about what is decent and what's indecent because they want to grow to be a good Muslim. Do not give up or assume that because you and your wife are good Muslims, that kids are going to be Muslims. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us as a community to do better and as parents to do better by raising our kids because we want them to take the torch of Islam because we know we are on the right path and the only way for us to be successful is to have our children carry the legacy of their parents of bringing good kids to make a good example for those who are trying to find peace and tranquility. They could be non-Muslims. They can come up here and say, look, Muslims are raising their kids according to their beliefs and they're not willing to compromise on it. The Mormon church, and I shouldn't say Mormon, but there's the Mormon church were against it 100%. Their representative in Congress voted for homosexuality, for same-sex marriage, because he guaranteed that there will still be a tax-exempt organization. And what I said today, what I said is my own words, because you never know. The government can pass a legislation tomorrow and say any masjid, any church that talks about this homosexual being haram and indecent, they can lose their tax-exempt. It's my own word. This is what nobody told me. They're not CIMIC, not the man. I'm saying this of my own belief in the way I see this society, where it's going, and I'm afraid that 5, 10, 20 years from now, where are we going to be? I want to see the Muslim community to be the shining star of this country because this country needs some moral guidance, and unfortunately, there's nothing can be done, but we have the opportunity because we still have some glimpse of hope that this country will still have the fairness of allowing people to practice their religion without the pressure that they're putting on us. So, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. استووا واعتدلوا يرحمكم الله. ادعوا الله الخير والبركة. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض ولكن كذبوا فأخذناهم بما كانوا يكسبون. أفمن أهل القرى أن يأتيهم بأسنا بياتا وهم نائمون أوأمن أهل القرى أن يأتيهم بأسنا ضحى وهم يلعبون أفأمنوا مكر الله فلا يأمن مكر الله إلا القوم الخاسرون. فلا يأمن مكر الله إلا القوم المسلمون فلا يأمن مكر الله إلا القوم الخاسرون. أولم يهد للذين يرثون الأرض من بعد أهلها أن لو نشاء أصبناهم بذنوبهم ونطبع على قلوبهم فهم لا يسمعون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Assalamu alaikum, brother and sister. So there will be no prayers, at least they not said that because of the weather conditions, so you're not required for you to come to the masjid for prayers if they ever, like Asr and Maghrib. So you have the chance to just stay at home and be safe. Okay? As far as the announcement, Hopefully here somewhere. There they are. So the announcement is they're very short, so please stick around if you can. I'm the Khatib, so my name is Musbah Kassar. Please donate to the masjid in any way possible. There's several ways you can do it. There's a website out there which is a Venom account. Look for a QR code posted in the masjid. CIMIC General Body meeting was last Sunday. Everybody's encouraged to attend future meetings. Friday prayer mass is still required. Okay, today's talk is canceled because of the weather. MSA has dawah table on the main quad on campus. This should take place every few weeks. Anyone interested in helping, please do so. Brother Mutir Rahman passed away. His body was brought to the community cemetery, and he was buried. So please make dua for him and his family. Islamic school will resume January 22nd of this coming year, and lunch is provided by Shawarma Joint on 627 East Green Street in Champaign. Please make dua for the food provider, $70 donations from that place. Jazakumullah. Thank you.